Hello, could you hear me?
I heard you then. You okay?
My voice is a bit hoarse. I lost my voice a couple of days ago, and it's still recovering.
Oh, bless. Is that is did you go to Vietnam with your mum and dad?
No, I stayed at home.
Oh, right, because you were at school, I suppose. No, because your mum said the weather wasn't good, so I wondered if you'd caught a cold from the weather there. But it's quite cold here now, so it's probably
Yeah.
yeah. This morning was quite cold, but really nice.
Mhm.
So you had a good week?
Yes, I had. I hope you don't mind me speaking too much.
No, I don't. No, no, I understand. Otherwise, we might be laughing the whole lesson.
But my week was pretty okay.
Sorry.
My week was okay considering that I couldn't speak most of the time.
Okay, okay. Um, we're going to continue with the non-fiction that we were looking at last week.
Yes.
We're going to look at the analysis, the summary, the themes, and the language of it. Okay. So I'll do.
Mhm.
Do you want to do you want to read the passage again, or can you remember most of it?
We could reread it again.
Okay. So let me just find that one. It's not on there. Let me just move this up and down. Um, yeah. Why am I? Okay, sorry about that. I move this way. Okay, so the non-fiction that we read last week was called A Passage to Africa by George Alagaya. Okay, so Alagaya writes about his experiences as a television reporter during the war in Somalia, Africa, in the 1990s. He won a special award for his report on the incidents described in this passage. So I saw 1,000 hungry, lean, scared, and betrayed faces as I crisscrossed Somalia between the end of 1991 and December 1992. But there is one I will never forget. I was in a little hamlet just outside Gufgadood, a village in the back of Beyond, a place the aid agencies had yet to reach. In my notebook, I had jotted down instructions on how to get there. Take the Badali Road for a few kilometers till the end of the tarmac. Turn right onto a dirt track. Stay on it for about 45 minutes. Gufgadood. Go another 15 minutes approximately, like a ghost village. Okay. In the ghoulish manner of journalists on the hunt for the most striking pictures, my cameraman and I tramped from one hut to another. What might have appalled us when we'd started our trip just a few days before no longer impressed us much. The search for the shocking is like the craving for a drug. You require heavier and more frequent doses the longer you're at it. Pictures that stun the editors one day are written off as the same old stuff the next. This sounds callous, but it's just a fact of life. It's how we collect and compile the images that so move people in the comfort of their sitting rooms back home. There was Amina Abdirahman, who had gone out that morning in search of wild, edible roots, leaving her two young girls lying on the dirt floor of their hut. They'd been sick for days and were reaching the final, innovating stages of terminal hunger. Habiba was 10 years old and her sister, Ayan, was 9. By the time Amina returned, she had only one daughter. Habiba had died. No rage, no whimpering, just a passing away. That simple, frictionless, motionless deliverance from a state of half-life to death itself. It was, as I said at the time in my dispatch, a vision of famine away from the headlines, a famine of quiet suffering and lonely death. There was the old woman who lay in her hut, abandoned by relations, who were too weak to carry her on their journey to find food. It was the smell that drew me to her doorway, the smell of decaying flesh. Where her shin bone should have been, there was a festering wound the size of my hand. She'd been shot in the leg as the retreating army of the deposed dictator took revenge on whoever it found in its way. The shattered leg had fused into the gentle V shape of a boomerang. It was rotting. She was rotting. You could see it in her sick yellow eyes and smell it in the putrid air she recycled with every struggling breath she took. And then there was the face I will never forget. My reaction to everyone else I met that day was a mixture of pity and revulsion. Yes, revulsion. The degeneration of the human body, sucked off its natural vitality by the twin evils of hunger and disease, is a disgusting thing. We never say so in our TV reports. It's a taboo that has yet to be breached. To be in a feeding centre is to hear and smell the excretion of fluids by people who are beyond controlling their bodily functions. To be in a feeding centre is surreptitiously to wipe your hands on the back of your trousers after you've held the clammy palm of a mother who has just cleaned vomit from her child's mouth. So revulsion means disgust. Surreptitiously means secretly. I think we went through those last week, didn't we? Okay. There's pity too, because even in this state of utter despair, they aspire to a dignity that is almost impossible to achieve. An old woman will cover her shriveled body with a soiled cloth as your gaze turns towards her, or the old and dying man who keeps his hoe next to the mat with which one day soon they will shroud his corpse. as if he means to go out and till the soil once all this is over. I saw that face for only a few seconds, a fleeting meeting of eyes before the face turned away, as its owner retreated into the darkness of another hut. In those brief moments, there had been a smile, not from me, but from the face. It was not a smile of greeting. It was not a smile of joy. How could it be? But it was a smile nonetheless. It touched me in a way I could not explain. It moved me in a way that went beyond pity or revulsion. What was it about that smile? I had to find out. I urged my translator to ask the man why he had smiled. He came back with an answer. It's just that he was embarrassed to be found in this condition, the translator explained. And then it clicked. That's what the smile had been about. It was the feeble smile that goes with apology, the kind of smile you might give if you felt you had done something wrong. Normally inured to stories of suffering, accustomed to the evidence of deprivation, I was unsettled by this one smile in a way I'd never been before. There is an unwritten code between the journalist and his subjects in these situations. The journalist observes, the subject is observed. The journalist is active, the subject is passive. But this smile had turned the tables on that tacit agreement. Without uttering a single word, the man had posed a question that cut to the heart of the relationship between me and him, between us and them, between the rich world and the poor world. If he was embarrassed to be found weakened by hunger and ground down by conflict, how should I feel to be standing there so strong and confident? I resolved there and then that I would write the story of Gufgadood with all the power and purpose I could muster. It seemed at the time, and still does, the only adequate answer a reporter can give to the man's question. I have one regret about that brief encounter in Gufgadood. Having searched through my notes and studied the dispatch that the BBC broadcast, I see that I never found out what the man's name was. Yet meeting him was a seminal moment in the gradual collection of experiences we call context. Facts and figures are the easy part of journalism. Knowing where they sit in the great scheme of things is much harder. So, my nameless friend, if you are still alive, I owe you one. Okay, does it ring bells?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so we're now going to look at analyzing, summarizing, and looking at the language that was used in that.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, are you taking anything to ease your throat?
Yes.
Is it tickling?
Right now it is tickling, but usually no, it's not tickling.
Right. Okay. Okay, so with all these non-fiction stories that we're reading and analyzing and summarizing and all the other things that we're doing with reading, um, when you take the IGCSE test, English language test, um, I think we have 10 stories. I think we've done about four or five so far. That you'll be given one of these stories to write about, which is why I'm going through the analysis and summary and all the other parts with you so that you get a better idea as to what they're looking for when you write about the stories. Together with that, though, you will be given an unknown text, um, which will be thematically linked to the story that the story from this book that you've been given. And there's two particular questions that we should really look at. It's question 4 and question 5. So question 4 will specifically be about the anthology text, so the story that you've covered in the course. And question 5 will ask you to compare the anthology text with the unseen text or the unknown text that they have given you at that time. Okay, so comparisons, similar to what we're doing in the poetry comparisons, you know, comparisons, similarities, differences, language, tones, and so on. So we'll have a quick overview of the text. We'll have a summary of the parts that we've read of A Passage to Africa, themes, ideas, and perspectives in A Passage to Africa, and the language used in A Passage to Africa. So, quick overview. Let me just move that down a bit. Okay, A Passage to Africa was written by British newsreader and journalist George Alagaya, who passed away in 2023. It's about Alagaya's experiences as a television reporter in Somalia during the war in the early 1990s, and specifically how an encounter in a village near Gufkadud affected him more than anything else he witnessed on his journey. Okay, so summary. This personal and reflective piece of writing begins by establishing the impact of the war in Somalia on ordinary people. It then focuses on a hamlet just outside of Gufkadud, a remote village which had not yet been reached by any aid agencies. Alagaya describes moving from hut to hut, looking for stories more shocking than what he had already witnessed in order to move people in the comfort of their sitting rooms. He describes the quiet and lonely death of a 10-year-old girl while her mother was out searching for food, and an old woman who had been left to die slowly of decay as her relations could not support her to continue, sorry. Alagaya's writing then focuses on a specific encounter with a man who smiled at him before entering another hut. Alagaya reflects that normally in these situations, journalists observe and their subjects are merely observed, but that by smiling an embarrassed, apologetic smile, the man had affected Alagaya in a way that all of the horrific sights he had seen could not. This life-changing incident led him to resolve to write the story of Gufkadud for the world to know. Themes, ideas, and perspectives in A Passage to Africa. Paper 1, question 4 will ask you to explore how the writer had used language and structure to present a theme or idea within their text. Paper 1, question 5 will ask you to compare how the writer presents their ideas and perspectives in the unseen or unknown text. Okay. Okay, so what are the key themes in A Passage to Africa? Okay, the realities of war. Analysis. The article highlights the human cost of war. Alagaya saw 1,000 hungry, lean, scared, and betrayed faces. There are so many, they form a collective for Alagaya, without any one of them particularly standing out. He gives a specific example per paragraph of people he encounters, but reports on them in the style of a detached journalist. By the time Amina returned, she had only one daughter. So it's probably not his true feelings, but that's how he has to report the incident. Alagaya presents a human perspective on the desperation the people are facing, illustrating how society ignores their suffering. He uses vivid and sometimes gruesome language to convey this. Do you think vivid and gruesome language gets the message across more sort of horrifically to get people to understand the situation? Lily, can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Okay. How do you feel about the use of vivid and sometimes gruesome language to convey a situation?
I guess it makes it a lot easier to visualize. And it also gives me the feeling that it just gives you the feeling, it just makes you know that's not okay.
Yeah, it gives you the true picture of what it is that's happening, um, and makes people aware of the extent of um, the famine or whatever other disaster is happening, um, rather than them sort of hearing it but not listening to it. I think with vivid and gruesome language, they don't only hear it, they listen to it. Because there's a difference between hearing something and listening to something. And I think it gets people to listen um, rather than just, by the way, hear it. So, yeah. Okay, the man's embarrassed and apologetic smile at his situation makes Alagaya himself feel embarrassed by his opposite circumstances. He says, how should I feel to be standing there so strong and confident?
Mm, what is the question? Or is this the.
There is no question there.
Uh,
I've not asked you a question. Okay, so the observer and the observed. So Alagaya suggests that being exposed to so many horrific images can desensitize the observer to what she is witnessing. So being exposed to the horrific sights that he's has seen in the past is not making him quite so sensitive to what he is observing or witnessing at the present time. But when you think this is a news or a documentary broadcast, a lot of people, it will be their first time to witness something so horrific and get them to, take note and listen to what is being said. So what might have appalled us when we started our trip no longer impressed us very much. So it's like the more you get used to something, the less it has an impact on you. And that's the sort of thing that happens, with reporters when they're reporting things. And what they saw yesterday has given them a sense of expectancy as to what is going to happen today. So it doesn't come as such a shock to witness whatever it is they witness in the future. Okay. He writes as a hardened journalist who has become accustomed to witnessing famine, poverty, and the extremes of human suffering, normally inured to stories of suffering. Alagaya aims to shock the reader as well as evoking pathos. Pathos is pity and sadness. So he's trying to shock the reader or the listener to make them feel pity and saddened by the current situation. He does this through the use of emotive language such as terminal hunger. It's the man's smile that makes him stop and actually consider the man's circumstances, and the part he has to play in ensuring that all of the anonymous people who suffer in war have their story heard. I would write the story of Gufgadud with all the power and purpose I could muster. It's ironic that the one regret Alagaya has is that he never learnt the man's name, even though he was the individual that caused the seminal moment in the writer's experiences. Okay. What sort of effect do you think it would have had on him if he had known his name? Do you think it would have made any difference as to how he feels?
Mm, to be honest, I don't think so. But I think that it would put him more at peace.
Yeah, I think he would feel exactly the same, but I think it might be just that, he couldn't communicate with him and therefore couldn't ask his name. And so he didn't ask. Another thing, he didn't ask the translator to ask what his name was. He just asked him why he smiled the way he did. Okay, so how does Alagaya present his ideas and perspectives? Alagaya uses a variety of techniques to present his ideas and perspectives. These also include how he structures his writing in order to achieve his desired effects. Okay, so technique, first person perspective. Analysis, the use of I gives reliability to the account and stresses its personal quality from the start. Note form. The first two paragraphs are written in a note style, as though extracted from field notes. This adds to the sense of legitimacy of the account. So when you're reporting on something, you just jot down quick notes as to, the surrounding area, the people, and so on, and what is going on. And if you sort of report something like that, it gives it a true a sort of true account of what actually is happening in that situation. Detachment. Alagaya sometimes adopts a journalistic tone to suggest the passive role of journalists in reporting from conflict zones. For example, she's been shot in the leg. What do you think the detachment is there?
The detachment.
Yeah, so he's detaching himself from, the old woman that's sitting in her hut, whose leg is rotting because she's been shot at.
Maybe he means that he wants to leave it behind, does not want like this picture to remain in his memory, maybe.
Yeah, and I think also that the fact he's saying she, he's not referring to the old woman again. Um, because I think she is less dramatic than the old woman had been shot in the leg. Um, Tone, Alagaya uses an informal tone shown by the abundant use of hyphens and colloquialisms to present an emotional and harrowing topic in an accessible way. Do you know what colloquialism is?
No,
It's when we're speaking naturally, not formally.
it's when we're pardon again.
Hurry, what did you say?
What is what does colloquialism mean again?
It's when we speak in normal phrases, um, normal words. We're not speaking formally. We're speaking in a natural way of speaking. Okay, single line paragraph. The isolated sentence, and then there was the face I will never forget, emphasizes the life-changing importance of that moment. So he wrote that one line as a complete paragraph to emphasize the importance of its meaning. So don't think you can't ever have a single line paragraph. You can, and it will, when you're writing, um, direct the reader to that, because it's standing out, because it's alone. Simple sentences. The writer uses simple sentences to state facts such as no rage, no whimpering. This adds to the sense of a detached report, which then contrasts to his highly personal response to the man who smiles. So if you read something that says no rage, full stop. No whimpering, full stop. Do you think that would have more effect on the reader than saying no rage or whimpering? Yeah, that's a question. Can you hear me?
I can't seem to find the question.
You can't seem to.
No, the screen is very small.
Oh, you're still on your phone?
Yes.
Oh, I suggest you use a laptop. Okay, so can you see where it says simple sentence?
Yes.
Okay, so here the writer uses simple sentences to state facts, such as no rage, no whimpering. So my question to you was, do you think by saying no rage, full stop, no whimpering, full stop, will have a bigger impact on the reader than if I said no rage or whimpering?
Mm, will this have a bigger impact?
Yeah. Will this the way it's written here, will it have a bigger impact on the reader? Sorry.
Then
Oh,
saying it.
sorry. Okay. So here he's got no rage, full stop, no whimpering, full stop. So do you think um, those two short sentences will have more impact on the reader than if I said no rage or whimpering?
Mm. I think no rage, no whimpering would have a bigger impact.
Yeah,
And
true. Yeah.
it clearly not visually show you, but it reflects that the people in the situation have accepted it, which is really sad. Just knowing how much they have been through, just to get to a point of just accepting and knowing that nobody's coming to save you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, very good. Well done. Good. Okay, rhetorical questions. Alagaya uses rhetorical questions in the second half of the article to indicate that he is reflecting on his position and thinking to date. He's able to describe in great detail what he witnesses in the first half of the piece, but uses the questions in the second half to suggest that his emotions are now harder to explain. The ultimate question in the article is, how should people react to other people's suffering? He therefore resolves to answer that question in his own way by writing it down and reporting it. So the third point there, the ultimate question in the article is, how should people react to other people's suffering? That's going to vary tremendously, depending on the people that read it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, how should people react? Well, I mean, we don't know really. We could we could highlight how people could react. Um, we say how people should react. Just because I react in one way doesn't mean everybody else should react in the same way.
Mm-hmm. But I also think that we should consider how the people we're reacting to wants us to react. Some people want our pity. Some people don't want our pity. It I think that's what they're trying to emphasize on, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And yeah, and uh, how do we know whether they want our opinion, our pity or not? Um, we've got to sort of take things at face value, and yeah, it's very difficult, very difficult. Okay, direct address. Alagaya addresses the nameless man directly in the final paragraph. So the final paragraph of his writing, he's purely writing to the nameless man, the nameless smiling man. This reminds the reader that this man was a real person who managed to bridge the divide between reporter and reported. It focuses the reader's attention on a single important individual, contrasting with the thousand hungry, lean, scared, and betrayed faces Alagaya started with. By addressing him directly, Alagaya acknowledges his own part in dehumanizing the people he was reporting about, as he regrets never learning the man's name. So he does, it says he does regret not learning his name. Um, okay, language used in a passage to Africa. The language choices made by a writer contribute to the overall effect they wish to portray. Okay, language, imagery, analysis. The language used by Alagaya brings to life the suffering and decay experienced by the Somali people. For example, the smell of decaying flesh, festering wound, and it was rotting. She was rotting. I mean, those are images that are quite horrible,
Mm-hmm.
all of them. Um, and it's hope that, we would never have to see them. Okay, this contrasts with the imagery of the smile, which is normally seen as positive. So yeah, when a person smiles, it's usually considered to be something of a positive way of communication, but it wasn't in this case. The village is described as ghost-like, and journalists are described as ghoulish. The choices evoke a sense of death in the village, and the journalists feeding off the dead. Similarly, the simile, like the craving for a drug, implies the thirst of the media for ever more shocking stories and footage, as the public and the reporters become increasingly immune to human suffering. You know what a simile is?
Like comparing.
What? Comparing what?
Um, just comparing, like it's similar to a metaphor.
Okay, it means that they're comparing two very different things.
Mhm.
Okay, so like the craving of a drug, um, to human suffering, complete opposites, but it's as I say, it implies the thirst of the media to give more shocking stories and footage to grasp the readers or the people watching the news story, um, more impact. Rule of three or triads are employed to emphasize the slow, gradual degeneration of the human body. For example, that simple, frictionless, motionless deliverance. So the rule of three, when we give words like simple, frictionless, motionless, deliverance. So simple, frictionless, motionless are the three words that are put together to give more emphasis on what we want to get across to, what we want people to remember. Um, and the rule of three is used an awful lot in reporting, and journalists use the rule of three a lot to give emphasis to whatever it is they are conveying. Emotive language. Alagaya employs strong emotive language, not only to evoke pathos in the reader, but also to highlight the realities of reporting from a conflict zone. He describes his reactions being a mixture of pity and revulsion at the disgusting shutting down of the human body. Alagaya describes this admission as a taboo that has yet to be breached, suggesting that even war reporters do not share all the horrible realities of the situations they witness and experience. Does any other emotive language from the passage jump out at you?
Mm, I remember one example
If you can think of one, yeah.
of comparative.
Emotive,
Emo-
uh, an emotion that is an emotion he wants to get across to the reader.
I think this whole passage was used
Me too. I think the whole thing is
I
emotion.
don't think there was a single word that was used for any other intention.
No, and I mean, in a way, it's good to read something like this. But in a way, I'm sorry, it's part of your coursework because it's quite distressing when you think about it. Okay. So I just want to. Okay. So we've got So I mentioned question 4 and question 5. Um, so I don't know if I can get the how to answer question 4. Okay, we'll go through this to give you some idea of what to expect. And so question 4 is a language and structure analysis question worth 12 marks. It'll be based on one of the extracts from part 1 of the Pearson EdXL IGCSE English Anthology, which will be provided for you in the exam. This is a longer answer question and tests assessment objective 2, A02, which tests you on your ability to understand and analyze how writers use language and structure to achieve effects. I think you've got a pretty good understanding of analyzing texts, haven't you?
Um, I mean, it depends on the text. If it's Shakespeare, then probably not.
Exactly. If it's Shakespeare, we need a translation. Um, but on the non-fiction texts, you understand you understand what you're reading. You understand the majority of the words used in the writing, which is good. Um, and you can, an analysis is your opinion of something. So there's no real wrong or right answer. Um, you can have a good answer or a bad answer, um, but as long as you understand what you've read, you can write your analysis and give your opinion. um, of that.
Mhm.
So the following guide includes breaking down the question, steps to success, and exam tips. Okay, so breaking down the question, because you'll be able to study the extracts in the anthology prior to the exam, you're able to prepare in advance for this question. However, it is still important to ensure you read the question carefully and highlight.
Will they give me the original anthology as well?
That I am not sure of. I'll find out. Uh, to be honest, well, to be honest, as I say, I'm not sure, but I wouldn't think so because um, it's all been part of your coursework.
Mhm.
But I will find out for definite for you, and they may provide you with extracts. I'm not sure, but I will find out for you, Lily.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so so breaking down the question, the key instructions in the question, the focus of the question, what you are looking for in the text. So maybe they do give you, I don't know whether they will give you the full, they probably will. In fact, I don't think I've got this particular one, but I do have um, some that, let me see if I've got it up here. No, I haven't got it there. But I do have some question. English language papers. Okay, so I've got this. No, it's not that one. Sorry, I do apologize. It's on this tab. So this is, you can't see that, sorry. This is the uh, okay, so this would be your exam paper, and um, I think the example of the story we haven't covered it because it's an old exam paper,
Mhm.
and yes, they do. So they'll give you the reading is part of your coursework. Okay. As I say, whether it's the full article that we've covered in the course, or it might be extracts from it. Um, I'm not too sure. So they'll give you the story that you have done in your coursework. I think pretty sure. Let me. Okay, read the conversation. Right, actually, long gone. Okay, I'm just going to go further down and see. Okay, and then you've got your unknown or unseen text that you are going to read and write, answer questions. Okay, so this would be question 4 on the unknown text that you've been given in your test. And example, how does the writer present her experiences of living with the Inuit people in Tool? You should refer closely to the passage to support your answer. You may include brief quotations. Okay, so again, how does the writer present her experiences? So you're looking at emotive language, and all the other different types of language that we've just covered, um, to say how she presented her writing. So that would be question 5 in your test. So I just want to go back to question 4. Okay, so this would be the question relating to the text that you've covered in your course. Okay. How does the writer try to create interest in this passage? In your answer, you should write about what happens on the journey, the ways in which the family's relationships are presented, particular words, phrases, and techniques. You may include brief quotations from the passage to support your answer. So within the text, you can take quotations, brief quotations, and to help support your answer. So it's not all having to come from here. Some of the answers will be in the text already to help you answer the question and get full marks. I know this question doesn't relate to our passage, but I wasn't able to find a paper. I'll have another look. I'm always looking. I'll have another look to see. But it because it's a recent might not be up there just yet on the internet. Okay. Okay, so I just want to find where we were. Okay, and you got any other questions?
No.
So one of the in the student book, before you read anything, it will tell you it it will tell you to research something about the writer. Um, so I did do quite a bit of searching. Okay.
Mm.
So this was just at his memorial when he died in 2023. Um, but I did find something else somewhere. What's the one? Okay. You okay?
Yes.
Okay, so I've just done a quick search on him, and he's very well known for, for this um text that we've read. So we'll just read it, and because something like this, that when you're asked to do some research on something, especially when you're in college and studying something, if it tells you to go and research it before you read or before you continue with anything, it's always best to do so to give you a clearer, better understanding of who you're reading about, what you're reading about, when you're reading about, and so on. Okay, so A Passage to Africa is a poignant reflection of George Alagaya on his experiences as a journalist in Somalia during the Civil War, highlighting the profound impact of human suffering on his perspective. In A Passage to Africa, George Alagaya recounts his experiences as a television reporter in Somalia during the early 1990s. I know we've gone through over some of this previously, but we'll go over it again. The passage focuses on his journey through a remote village near Gufgadud, where he witnessed the devastating effects of war and famine on the local population. Alagaya describes the haunting images of 1,000 hungry, lean, scared, and betrayed faces emphasizing the emotional weight of his encounters. So themes and reflections. So we've got human suffering, emotional impact, the role of the journalist. And so with the hamlet that he was in, because aid agencies hadn't reached them yet, this is an extreme case of suffering in Somalia. It's not the whole country's suffering. It's only certain parts of the country that's suffering. So in order to get, the horrible message across, he's gone to, a really extreme place to report on that. So you see here, you've got all the some really good ideas for when you come to answer the questions in your writing. Admittedly, they are his opinion, his ideas, his emotions, but from what you read here, you can translate into your own feelings and so on. Okay. Do you want me to read all this with you?
You don't mind?
I don't mind, no.
Okay.
Okay, so some key themes and reflections. Human suffering. Alagaya's writing captures the stark realities of life in war-torn Somalia, particularly the suffering of children and the elderly. He reflects on the death of a 10-year-old girl and the slow decay of an old woman left to die alone, illustrating the tragic consequences of neglect and violence. Emotional impact. A pivotal moment in the passage occurs when Alagaya encounters a man who smiles at him before entering a hut. This simple gesture profoundly affects him, contrasting with the horrific sights he has witnessed. It highlights the complexity of human connection amidst suffering and the journalist's struggle to maintain empathy in the face of overwhelming despair. The role of the journalist. Alagaya reflects on the responsibilities of journalists to convey the truth of human experiences. He grapples with the ethical implications of reporting on suffering, recognizing that his role is not just to observe, but to give voice to those who are often overlooked. Writing style and techniques. Alagaya employs emotive language and vivid imagery to evoke empathy and provoke thought. His use of descriptive adjectives creates a stark contrast between the harsh realities of life in Somalia and the fleeting moments of human connection. This technique enhances the emotional resonance of his narrative, making the reader acutely aware of the suffering he describes. Conclusion. Passage to Africa serves as a powerful reminder of the human cost of conflict and the importance of compassion in journalism. Alagaya's reflections not only document the atrocities he witnessed, but also challenge readers to consider their own responses to suffering and the stories that often go untold. Through his writing, Alagaya invites us to engage with the complexities of humanity, urging us to remember the individuals behind the statistics and headlines. Okay, so that's a little bit of research that you could do before, and perhaps reading this will prepare you a little bit more for the actual reading, because it sort of warns you, gives you some examples of what is written, and therefore warning you of the content of the material that you're going to read. So that's probably a good thing to do before reading horrific passages. Prepares you for it. Okay. Got any questions you'd like answered? Can you hear me? Because I can't hear you. Okay. Okay, so we've got what's you okay? I can't hear you. I don't know if you're speaking or coughing.
Yes. I sprout.
You okay?
Yes.
Oh, good, good. Have you got any questions you want to ask about that?
Nope.
I will email this to you, so that you've the analysis and summary and language. I will email all that to you so that you can have another look through if you have time.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so now the choice is yours. Do you want another non-fiction reading exercise, or do you want uh compare some poetry? Okay.
Mm.
Or do you want to go to bed?
I mean, today we'll just skip for now because my head feels a bit dizzy.
You sure you want to finish? I'll email what we've gone through today, um together with the story, and you can have another look through it when you feel up to it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I hope you get better soon.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it must be dreadful that throat is so sore. Oh, bless. Okay, well, you take care, Lily, and have a good week, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you. You too.
Okay, you take care, get well soon.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.